Great, thank you, President Leonard. My name is Stephanie Checco. I'm the Borough Manager in Conshohocken, and this evening I will be presenting the 2024 proposed budget. To start with just the outline of the presentation, we'll hit on what the budget process looked like over the course of this year. We will do a highlight of 2023 department accomplishments, and then roll right into the 2024 proposed budget overview, which will include an explanation of revenue sources, 2024 budget highlights, 2024 department goals, and then go over next steps to close out the budget cycle for the end of this year. The budget process was very efficient. We follow a timeline on an annual basis. This year, our timeline included turning in capital requests and reviewing council goals in July. We then roll into operational budget requests, meetings, and review those submissions in August in preparation for our large budget work session every September at the end of the month, where we really work through all the nitty-gritty line items and capital expenditures. In October, we take all the feedback that we receive from council and the public as it pertains to that budget work session and build those changes into the proposed budget. This evening, I'm here to present the proposed budget for 2024. On November 15th, on your agenda will be consideration to advertise the budget along with your tax levy resolution, and then that will roll right into December 20th with consideration to adopt the budget for your 2024 fiscal year. So before I move into an overview of the proposed 2024 budget, I think it's important to reflect on the accomplishments from 2023 because they highlight the many services that the community receives as a result of their tax dollars. It also exemplifies that the borough works hard on a regular basis to provide quality service to its constituents. So I will start with the police department. Over the course of 2023, the police department equipped officers with body-worn cameras and completed policies and training associated with those cameras. They introduced new parking enforcement software, completed training, and recorded measurable success with the new system. They outfitted the department with modular vest carriers to aid in the reduction of on-duty injuries. They established contact and fostered relationship with community religious leaders, providing them with facility security assessments. They hosted a bicycle rodeo for bike safety training and a bike giveaway at Conshohocken Elementary. They continued efforts to implement a license plate reader camera to aid in traffic safety and criminal investigations. They participated in the Conshohocken Community Center summer camp. The campers went and spent the day at the police station. They upgraded and implemented key software programs to assist the department with efficiency, accountability, and requirements. Chief Metz retired, and we went through the civil service process to promote a lieutenant and a sergeant and welcomed Officer Montowski as a new patrol officer. They maintained community outreach programs through our Shop with a Cop, Toys for Tots, Thanksgiving giveaway, and partnership with Carsey, and a community shred event which they hosted in conjunction with the mayor. And they purchased and outfitted 2 Chevy Tahoes and placed them into service. So a busy year for our police department. In terms of the fire department, besides being on call 24/7 for the health and safety of our residents and our businesses, they certified 18 swift water rescue technicians. They continued high water rescue and high water vehicle training. They completed elevator rescue training, participated in and hosted community and fire prevention events, including sprinkler nights, which were hugely popular at our parks, smoke detector giveaways, which we had about 50 smoke detectors that we gave away at that event, and hosted colonial fire prevention events. We equipped our part-time firefighters with EMT and paramedic experience. We continued the use of the QRS program, which supplements our partnership with Narberth Ambulance. We utilized rescue boats for continued training and completed a large undertaking of finishing a standard operating procedures manual. Emergency management. Again, focus on training for emergency management personnel so that they are ready at all times and to ensure that health safety runs through all of the operations in the borough. They continue the use of Code Red as an emergency communication system. They continued to utilize and update the blaze mark system to ensure property structures and plans are up to date for emergency response methods. They installed a radio dispatch in the EOC. They completed installation of the USGS flood gauge. They expanded the UAV drone team to 12 certified pilots, continued to implement and improve incident command posts during events. They hosted the Red Cross to speak on emergency response with neighboring first responders. They added a high water vehicle to the emergency management fleet and completed high water training. They added security cameras to borough parks and admin buildings. They hosted a free Narcan training in conjunction with an Arbirth ambulance, certified 5 employees on CPR, first aid, and AED instructors to ensure that all of our employees are AED and first aid certified, and they attended the monthly Montgomery County Emergency Management Training. So all of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes to ensure that our community is safe. The Department of Public Services. So the Department of Public Services is made up of multiple divisions. Specifically in this category, we're going to talk about Public Works, which is made up of buildings, sanitation and recycling, streets and parks, and of course licensing and inspections. So for the Buildings Division, we installed new signage on the Borough Admin Building. We replaced lobby light fixtures. We installed upgraded alarm and camera systems. We created office space for the Sewer Authority Administration for ease of access for the residents and the businesses. So it's one-stop shop now in terms of administrative items, with the plant still located at its current location. And installed new AED and vapor shield systems to maintain sprinkler pipes for fire safety. In the Sanitation and Recycling Division, they successfully maintained the new trash and recycling collection schedule. They addressed new CDL safety regulations, and they scheduled and completed multiple DEP-approved e-waste pickups. For the Streets Division, they continued in-house road and infrastructure repairs, installed safety delineators at problematic intersections, and trained and procured the block tap cold planer, which allows us to do a lot of road improvements in-house as opposed to outsourcing. For the parks, you can see our beautiful new B-Field playground, which is hugely popular. We completed the revitalization of the VFW monument at 5th Avenue and Spring Mill Avenue. We completed enhancements to the B-Field parking lot in addition to the playground, which included safety enhancements. The parking lot was upgraded. There's new fencing, there's new stop signs, really making it a hub for families and children to have fun at. And we completed year 6 of a 10-year treatment plan to preserve ash trees in Sutcliffe Park. Again, installed surveillance cameras at Borough Park properties, and installed and completed the new Fritz Pocket Park. So you can see the Fritz Pocket Park on your screen, the Sewer Authority offices, and then the VFW monument at 5th Ave and Spring Mill Ave. Very busy year. For the L&I department, they enforced the new trash and recycling collection schedule, which included the new dumpster ordinance. They enforced regulation tree heights and stump removal. They implemented an entire new stormwater management process and application, which was a huge undertaking. And then they reviewed and assisted with permitting throughout completion of multiple new development projects to ensure as little disruption as possible, with many buildings reaching completion this year and next year. Rolling right into the Department of Recreation Services, the fun stuff. We restored Aubrey Collins basketball court. We upgraded the community center with new multi-purpose room flooring, a new score table, new backboards, again with the goal of keeping our amenities new and useful for our residents. We installed a new scoreboard at the A field. We continued in-house and group fitness and continued offering programs in our facilities and parks. We offered an in-house summer day camp, which sold out in 48 hours. That's the demand that exists, and that's the product you've provided to your community. We offered in-house after-school programs in conjunction with Conshohocken Elementary and Schools Out programs. We offered line dance fusion classes that reached its capacity in its first session. So, if you want to do line dancing, make sure you get up in that next registration cycle. We offered evening pickleball clinics due to community demand, Cheer Boss to have cheer programs, stunt workshops, basketball clinics in Sutcliffe Park, low-cost workshops or free workshops like estate planning and nutritious and healthy food planning. All these offerings that are available to the community really either free or low cost. It's great. They started a book club for adults. They partnered with Yoga Home. We have about an email distribution list with Constant Contact right now, about 6,000 participants. So impressive. And then we send out our seasonal activity guide. We work with Silver Sneakers, Renew Active Fitness. We work collectively with all of our youth groups, Chestnut Hill College, Philadelphia White Marsh Rugby, Heyday Athletics, Conshohocken Art League, community businesses, et cetera. The list goes on. We'd be here all night if I kept going. We increased Park Pavilion rentals, and then, of course, hosted special events throughout the year. Blood drives, the Donna Frio tournament, the Easter egg hunt, the George Sneer basketball tournament, infant CPR, a Medicare seminar, movies in the park, pumpkin painting, a senior summer barbecue, a senior Thanksgiving luncheon, a senior holiday luncheon, and our winter wonderland. Moving into administrative services, so not as exciting, but just as important. We successfully completed financial audits, including the Borough audit, the liquid fuels audit, the workers' comp audit, the Auditor General's pension audit. We finalized the FEMA assistance for Storm Ida, which brought in roughly $183,000 for damage and labor costs that were associated with the storm. So $183 that was reimbursed of taxpayer money. We completed safety committee recertification, hosted wellness clinics, revised the entire borough's employee manual, and created an entire separate fire department policy section, which we never had, which we now do. We utilized Divot risk control grant funds, and most importantly, we successfully implemented the GASB 87 audit regulations, which pertains to all leases, which was a huge undertaking, and we pulled it off. So, busy year for administrative services. Moving into zoning, we completed over 20 zoning, conditional use, and relief extension hearings. Our zoning hearing board was busy this year. They did a great job. We tracked and processed short-term rentals in violation of borough ordinances. We processed enforcement of properties that are in violation of the borough's individual zoning districts, as well as the floodplain conservation overlay district. And they participated in the Main Street Overlay Task Force and assisted with the creation of the Fayette Street Corridor Text Amendment, which the final draft will be presented to you this evening at 7 p.m. So a big thank you as well to the task force that was made up of residents, community members, businesses, elected officials that worked tirelessly over the last 18 months to bring that to fruition. Okay, moving on to community development and grants. So in 2023, they rehabbed 6 properties through the CDBG and home grant programs. They completed the 2022 CDBG curb ramp project, again with grant dollars. They closed out certain contracts. They received a favorable monitoring letter from DCED in terms of fiscal management and labor standards. They processed handicap parking spaces, cafe licenses. They started the Sutcliffe Park Trail reconstruction project. They awarded a design consultant, corrected deeds, consolidated parcels, thank you Mike Peters, and recorded documents. The entire management of the DCNR grant portal process is a huge undertaking. Takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. Chris Stetler does it seamlessly. We submitted an application for the local share account grant and the 2023 CDBG grant. And so as I'm speaking about grants and you're laying out kind of everything that we've applied for, everything that we've researched over the course of the year, and everything we've utilized instead of using taxpayer dollars. If you go back for the last 3 years, you're looking at roughly $3.6 million worth of grant funds that you all have applied for and received on behalf of your community. It's a big number, and I think we just get caught up in kind of our daily activity, but when you sit down, you start actually compiling on the numbers. I was even surprised that it was $3.6 million. Yeah.
For all of our work on getting the grants done so that we can see for the residents. It's a huge undertaking, and we are all well aware. So we do appreciate everything.
Yeah, I will make sure if there's anyone not here who's responsible for that I pass that along tomorrow. Okay, going back to the fun stuff, communication and special events. So they produced 2 borough newsletters. They worked with CGI to produce updated promotional videos for highlighting the borough. And then, of course, they coordinated, planned, and organized all facets of 7 borough special events that we host annually and 7 community special events that really truly make the borough the place to be in Montgomery County. And just a few pictures for you to take a look at. Okay, so again, the accomplishments that I just listed are an overview of the borough operations from 2023. And I'd like to thank all the borough staff for their hard work and our elected officials for their guidance and direction. At the same time, it's very important to thank the entire borough community. It's through your efforts that Conshohocken was named the best suburb for young professionals in the state of Pennsylvania, and also named one of the best places overall to live in PA. That's exciting. Because we were given those accolades, we partnered with the CGI company to generate a digital video tour of our borough to illustrate just how special Conshohocken is. And I love the slogan that was picked to utilize the design, that Conshohocken is small in size, but ultimately destined for a big future. So we're just going to take a quick look.
Welcome to Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, a borough on the rise. Over the past 2 decades, Conshohocken has seen an influx of housing along the Schuylkill River, as well as new homes being built throughout the area. In the last few years, the borough's parks and playground facilities have undergone major renovations, including the addition of ADA-compliant play facilities, making it an even more attractive place to live. Conshohocken is also home to many corporate headquarters. Among them, Borough, a Fortune 10 company, makes its home within Sora West, a large-scale mixed-use property considered the flagship of Conshohocken's redevelopment efforts. Fayette Street is the heart of Conshohocken, with its bustling pubs, exciting restaurants, and amazing shops. Community such as the Montgomery County, the Mayor's Arts and Crafts Fair and Car Show in June, the July 4th Soapbox Derby, and Fun Fest every September. Although only 1 square mile in size, and 15 miles from city center Philadelphia, it stands on its own as an exceptional place to call home. Come see for yourself what Conshohocken has to offer. Small in size, constituting 1 square mile, Conshohocken is nevertheless as welcoming and amenity-filled as many large cities. Families and individuals are discovering this for themselves and choosing to put down roots in Conshohocken. The borough's riverfront, the banks of the Schuylkill River, boast modern apartment homes with features that make them all-in-one communities. Along with apartments, there are riverfront townhomes, steps from Conshohocken's brand-new SEPTA commuter rail station. Elsewhere in the borough, you'll find new single-family homes, as well as bungalows, duplexes, heritage homes, and established neighborhoods. Those moving to the borough will find the perfect home to fit their needs. Conshohocken's public safety is in the hands of a dedicated police department, a fire department with 2 volunteer fire stations, emergency medical services, contracted to a private ambulance service, and a state-of-the-art emergency management team. Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, a community that's convenient and accommodating, and a fine place to live. Conshohocken's business identity has evolved throughout its history. Its most recent incarnation is a major corporate center in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Bergen, a Fortune 10 pharmaceutical distributor, is among the most recent businesses to place its headquarters in the borough. Its building is among those located in Sora West, a large-scale mixed-use property, which is the flagship of Conshohocken's redevelopment efforts. The Bergen HQ takes its place among such names as Hamilton Lane, Kinetic, Morgan Properties, Jacobs Engineering, D.R. Horton, CBRE, Stiefel Financial, and Allied Security Holdings, to name a few. Smaller businesses also find Conshohocken a welcoming place to set up shop. Current business owners are supportive of entrepreneurs ready to test the marketplace. Functions such as the Montgomery County Redevelopment Authority and the Great Conshohocken Economic Development Council are committed to ensuring Conshohocken continues to thrive. The community center at the Fellowship House, a hub of activity offering Borough residents a variety of fitness and wellness programs, sports, meeting, and activity spaces. The Fells neighbor, the Marywood Park House, serves as a home to the Conshohocken Historical Society, the Conshohocken Art League, and plays host to Borough-wide seasonal events. Conshahocken's park system includes a mix of playgrounds, pavilions, and picnic areas, outdoor fitness courts, and walking trails, with improved facilities at every level. There are accommodations for spectator sports, summer concerts, and pocket parks for basking in the sunshine. Fayette Street is Conshahocken's main street, a vibrant thoroughfare with busy pubs, exciting restaurants, and amazing retail shops. It's also the center of many of the borough's most popular community-wide events. Throughout the year, Fayette Street hosts the Montgomery County St. Patrick's Day Parade every March, the Mayor's Arts and Crafts Fair and Car Show in June, the July 4th Soapbox Derby, and Fun Fest every September. Whether a visitor or a resident, you're always welcome to join in the fun in Conshohocken. In recent years, the Borough of Conshohocken has seen dramatic changes to its skyline as apartment homes have risen along the Schuylkill River, and an innovative mixed-use project is anchored by the corporate headquarters of Fortune 10 pharmaceutical giant AmerisourceBergen. The Conshohocken housing market has become very competitive, with for-sale homes receiving multiple offers. Conshohocken is experiencing dynamic growth. Younger families are drawn to its close-to-home amenities, good local schools, and strong public safety community, with quality healthcare, diverse restaurants, and an overall quality of life that's hard to match elsewhere. Recent data from Niche.com earned Conshohocken an A+ rates the suburb for young professionals in Pennsylvania, and 13th best overall, with more than 50 live in the state. Discover the opportunities that await you in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I mean, I think the video tour speaks for itself. I think that every decision that you've strategically made along the lines of your budget, which basically sets the foundation for everything that you do, illustrates how you've really made Conshohocken destined for a big future. So as you can see from the virtual tour, our entire community, made up of borough residents, businesses, community groups, visitors, borough council, the mayor, and the borough administration, contributes to making Conshohocken Borough the premier place to live, work, play, and grow. So I feel that the accomplishments and highlights over the course of this year, along with this video tour, truly illustrates that your tax dollars are being put to good use. I'm immensely proud to be a member of this borough family and a member of our borough team. I am hopeful as we look towards the future. We will continue to serve Conshohocken and assess how we can collectively build a better future for generations to come. So as we wrap up 2023, we'll now move into the 2024 proposed budget. And to understand the budget, you really start with your revenue sources. And with your revenue sources, you really start with your primary revenue sources. And those primary revenue sources are real estate tax, real estate transfer tax, earned income tax, local services tax, mercantile tax, business privilege tax, and fund balance. And within those primary revenue sources, it's important to take a little bit of time to really focus on real estate tax, because that's what has the most impact on a resident of the borough of Conshohocken. So we're going to spend a little bit of time of talking about real estate tax, roughly 18% of that real estate tax, which comes and generates your primary revenue source. And you can see on the graph above the breakdown of those major revenue sources. So 41% from EIT, 2% from mercantile, 27% from BPT, 2% from LST, 6% of your fund balance, which varies from year to year, 3% from real estate transfer tax. There's some priors, delinquents, and interims in there that we have to account for when we're calculating real estate taxes, but we're really going to focus on that 18%, or that roughly $2.6 million that comes from real estate taxes, and what that means for a resident and also the budget. So there's two components to the borough's budget process. The budget process as it relates to the borough constituents, and the budget process as it relates to approval from our elected officials. I'm going to take a second to provide a brief explanation and example of how we put your tax dollars to work. So when we talk about real estate tax, we're talking about millage. So you ask, what's millage? Well, the millage rate is the amount per $1,000 used to calculate taxes on a property. 1 mil, in essence, represents $1 in taxes per 1,000 in tax assessed value. So that's a lot of numbers. So if we just use a very simple example, if you considered that a home's assessed value is $100,000, then 1 mil of tax would equal $100. The borough's total millage rate in 2023, which is made up of multiple factors, which we'll discuss next, was 34.147 mils. This means then that the homeowner in this example owes $34 and roughly 15 cents in taxes for every 1,000 in tax assessed value. So to put it into real terms, basically what does my tax bill look like? The amount equates to $3,414.70 in property taxes annually. So we go back to millage. So when a resident receives their real estate tax bill, what does that mean? You owe 34.147 mils. Well, that 34.147 is going to 4 different entities. You have 4.237 mils going to Montgomery County in 2023, 0.39 mils going to the community college, 4.5 mils going to the borough, which is us, and then 25.02 mils going to the Colonial School District. So those 4 entities make up that total millage rate of 34.147. So what does that mean to a resident? Let's put it all together. So if a homeowner owes, in the example that I gave, $3,414.70 a year in property taxes, what is the amount owed to the borough, the county, the community college, and the Colonial School District? So the amount owed to the borough annually is $450 total. The amount owed to the county is $423.70 total. The amount owed to Montgomery County Community College is $39, and the amount owed to the school district is $2,502 total. That makes up that total amount that is due annually. And then if you look up on the screen, you can see just broken down into percentages. So 12.41% is going to Montgomery County, 1.14% is going to the community college, 13.18% is going to the Borough of Conshohocken, and 73.27% of what you as a resident pay annually in your property taxes is going to the Colonial School District. I'll keep it on this slide. So what does that mean? What does that breakdown really mean for a borough resident? Basically, if we refer back to the previous example, this means that this particular property owner would owe approximately $37.50 a month to the borough. And you may ask then, well, what do you get for $37.50 a month? Well, you get trash removal, recycling, snow plowing and snow removal, upgraded, new, and maintained parks, new pocket parks, 24/7 police protection, 24/7 fire protection, emergency services, library services, code enforcement, permitting, property maintenance, park programming, road improvements, a community center that has free recreational programming for all ages, and access to numerous free special events. And that's just naming a few of the services that you're getting for $37.50 a month. That's not a bad deal. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so now we understand property tax, what that means to a resident in terms of breaking it down. So what does millage mean to your budget? What is the value of 1 mil? So if you look at the total estimated assessed value of property for the Borough of Conshohocken moving into fiscal year 2024, you're looking at roughly $800 million assessed value. If you have total millage of 4.5, or if you're trying to do the calculations yourself, 0.45%, then the total revenue, total estimated revenue, is roughly 3.6 million. You have to account for penalties, discounts, and delinquents. So you take those out of your equation, and you get roughly $3,486,484. That is your estimated real estate property tax revenue that you can expect moving into 2024, and that is built into your 2024 budget. So what do we do with that $3.4 million? Well, we break it down into 5 different operating funds. You have general, streetlight, debt service, fire, and library. You associate a tax levy with each of those operating funds, and that generates the amount of revenue that we allocate on an annual basis to each of those areas of operation. So moving into 2024, we're putting your tax dollars to work in these following areas. $2,594,177 are going to your general operating fund, which is your main operating fund. Roughly $130,000 are going to streetlights. $600,000 is going to debt service. $97,000 is going to fire protection, and $64,000 is going to library fund, and they all total that grand number of $3,486,484. So now that we know what these tax dollars mean for a resident and what they mean for your budget, we're going to shift some gears to how tax revenue, specifically real estate tax, is built into your general fund and what your general fund looks like moving into 2024. So what I'm presenting this evening is a balanced budget. You're looking at operating revenues of roughly $17,845,911, and your expenditures are balanced, $17,845,911. So what this means, based off of what we just talked about in terms of real estate tax and the fact that I am presenting a balanced budget, is that I am not requesting a tax increase. So everything you're seeing this evening, all the numbers from this moment forward, we are presenting and proposing without suggesting a tax increase or needing a tax increase rolling into 2024. So we're in good shape. So let's dive a little bit deeper. In terms of our general fund operating revenues, there's a breakdown of the different categories of how we decipher our revenues and how we categorize them. You can see on the screen that the majority of your revenues is coming from your Local Tax Enabling Act, which is made up of EIT, mercantile, BPT, LST, and transfer taxes if you get them in. You then have 15% coming from property taxes, 5% coming from licensing and permits, other departmental charges, but you can see up on there that your main sources are coming from intergovernmental revenues at roughly 6%, 5.82%, real property taxes, and your Local Tax Enabling Act. General fund operating expenditures. Again, these are broken down into different categories, basically focused on departments within the borough. You will see that on the screen above you that stormwater management is listed there. That is a new department moving into 2024. There are changes that are happening with the DEP in terms of what we are required, mandated really, to provide in terms of services to the community and also meet the specification and regulations of the DEP. So we are adding in about 2.16% as it relates to stormwater management. But going back to the breakdown of the percentages, your police department makes up roughly 38% of your general fund operating expenditures. Fire and emergency is 5.79, licensing inspections is 5.71, public services, which encompasses buildings, sanitation, streets, and parks, is 21.02%, culture and recreation is 5.61, other expenditures, which are mostly contingencies or contributions, are 1.27%. General government is 14.77%. We always budget interfund transfers, which are basically to reserve funds, so that's 5.6%, and then of course stormwater, which is listed at 2.16%. So the overall increase, it's important to note, and I have it up there on your screen, that the overall increase from 2023 to 2024 is roughly 15.15%, with the majority of the increase coming from contractual obligations, stormwater management, pension requirements, healthcare costs, and additional personnel to meet the service needs of the borough. So when we get to this point in the budget cycle, we always are talking back and forth in terms of what's the inflation estimate for the next year, what are our real and actual costs, how do we marry the two if we can. So over the past 5 years, we really have tried to follow the national inflation average. That's been kind of skewed the last couple of years, just what's going on with the market and supply chain and COVID and you name it, we've been through it. So, but we've come out of it, which is important. The inflation estimate for 2024 right now is roughly 4.1%. So the 2024 budget had to account for numerous things. Some of them, as I mentioned before, are these unfunded mandates. Specifically, there are new DEP requirements as it pertains to stormwater management that we have to comply with. And additionally, due to severe market fluctuations over the past 2 years, which we've all felt, either in business or in your personal lives, the mandated municipal requirement for our pension plans significantly increased. And we're required to satisfy the minimum requirements through the Auditor General's office. And then finally, in evaluating our service needs, the budget does contain new personnel additions to meet the needs of our expanding population. So for these reasons, you're looking at a much higher percentage from 2023 to 2024 in your proposed budget. However, if you do the calculations and you were to remove those 3 major cost centers that we're proposing and that we have to build into the budget, you're really looking at an overall percentage increase from 2023 to 2024 of 3.07%, which is actually lower than the national inflation estimate for 2024. So therefore, based on this information, while high, when you look at the full assessment of the budget in the borough and the needs and what we're required to do, and external factors that are outside of our control, the borough is actually still following its normal operating policy as it pertains to budgetary increases, and important to note that it's incorporating this higher percentage increase in the budget without the need for a tax increase. So kudos to all of you that are sitting in those seats, council, mayor, for your very strategic decision-making over the course of the last 3 to 5 years, which has positioned the borough in a capacity to fully absorb this higher percentage increase without having to financially burden the residents with a tax increase. So we'll just note again that all of the numbers you're seeing do not require a tax increase.
So Steph, what you're saying is 12%, approximately 12% of the 15.15% increase is all related to regulatory requirements that are being mandated at a higher level. It's not things that we.
Yeah. Yes. We're talking about those unfunded regulatory requirements. You're talking about $685,000 for MMO increases, which is your, goodness, I feel like you tongue-tied at the meetings. Municipal minimum obligation for your pensions. Your stormwater is roughly $400,000. Your new personnel additions, which are in there based off of feedback and assessments that we've done, are roughly $824,000. So yes, Tina, you're looking at almost $2 million that are in there because we don't have a choice. Does that help? Okay, so we'll roll into just major cost centers. So you're looking at your general fund, you're breaking it out into 3 major cost centers. 68% of your general fund is personnel costs. 26% is operating expenditures. 5.6% is interfund transfers. And then it is important to note that when you're looking at your personnel costs, 51% of that 68% is solely attached to your police department. So if you're trying to calculate your expenditures, that's your full picture of how your budget is structured. All right, so we're going to roll into what's the justification for the proposed costs that we've presented this evening, that we presented to you in your 4-hour budget meeting in September that you all sat through. Thank you very much. Some budget highlights. Again, no tax increase. We have a continued investment built into the budget into reserve funds. Funds like your capital reserve, your OPEB trust, all your operating reserve, so all funds that basically ensure the financial viability for the long term. You have a balanced budget with a decreased reliance on fund balance. You have a continued investment into public safety. In terms of fire, you have the fire stipend program, which is hugely successful. It's one of a kind in Montgomery County and it has attracted numerous volunteers. It's just what's happening in Conshohocken is not happening elsewhere. You have uniforms, equipment, and of course, the requested increased appropriation to your volunteer firefighters that are the backbone of your fire department. For the police, you have police vehicles, parking kiosks, firearms, IT upgrades, additional protections. For emergency management, you have emergency equipment, flood gauges, IT upgrades, IT security for both in-house operations and the community, and then a continued appropriation to Narberth Ambulance. You have a continued investment into public services in terms of safety measures, equipment, expanded in-house services, pocket parks, a GIS mapping system, and of course stormwater, which we talked about. And then you have a continued investment into recreation services, which are so important because they really do increase the quality of life in Conshohocken, rebuilding the Sutcliffe Park basketball courts, facility upgrades to the community center and the A-Field Stadium, and then of course the Sutcliffe Park Trail Rehabilitation Project, which you did receive a $250,000 grant for, and also a $60,000 grant from two different entities. And then something we're really excited about is the shuttle program, which we're going to roll out and introduce starting in 2024. Those costs are built into your budget. You have funds that are allocated for grants, capital engineering, traffic engineering, and then you also have dollars that, again, as we've previously discussed, in terms of increased personnel. And when we're talking about increased personnel, we're talking about being able to continue the quality of service that our residents and our businesses have become accustomed to. And that's paramount and pivotal to the success of everyone. You want to be that destination, you want to be that place, the best suburb in PA, then we need to continue pumping in services and being able to provide that level of service that has made us so successful and really the premier destination to live, work, play. And potentially we're going to add in the word grow, but we'll get there. So in addition to the budget highlights, we always set goals for the next fiscal year. We base them on SMART goals. We tell our directors that they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound. And so I'm going to briefly, bear with me, just go through a snapshot of what your directors have planned for you and for the community in 2024. So the police will be updating their weapons inventory, lower liability, achieve uniformity, introduce less lethal weapons for improved safety and liability, install parking kiosks and train staff, resident, and visitors, upgrade patrol, detective, admin, and parking units with fleet vehicles that meet our depreciation schedules and are also eco-friendly, implement department-wide de-escalation and weapons certification, continue community outreach programs, and foster relationship with community leaders, and continue to coordinate with the emergency management services to ensure that we are prepared to handle large-scale events and incidents. Hopefully we don't, but we're prepared if we do. Fire department will continue to increase their fire prevention activities, put a new fire engine into service, which is exciting, continue training, which will include driver training, traffic incident management training, and probably something that Tim Gunning, our fire chief, is most proud of is that they are Our fire department water rescue team is going to get certified as a state level 1A team. So our tiny little borough has become this hub of safety, emergency preparedness, and it's impressive. For emergency management, we will provide education for municipal leaders and emergency responders. We have a new dispatch center, so we will be using it and activating it through your emergency operations center, and install desktop computers in the EOC. Our executive director of operations was here earlier this year explaining the plans for the EOC and how that amenity is going to be available for the community in terms of use and trainings. For public service, our different divisions have numerous goals, but our building division will continue to examine the Borough admin building for future capital needs, review and implement comprehensive maintenance programs for our tenant spaces, and repair or replace roofing as needed on borough-owned properties. We will continue to apply for grants that allow us to generate additional asset preservation needs in our sanitation and recycling division. Again, you were the recipient of a 902 grant, which is roughly in the amount of $230,000, and will be used to purchase a new recycling truck. Again, not using taxpayer dollars. The streets division will continue to work on in-house road repair and maintenance program. I'm very proud of them. I think if you go back even 5 or 7 years, everything was done by a consultant. And you have invested in equipment and training that has allowed them to take a lot of that work and bring it in-house and kind of elevate them professionally. And they've stepped up to the plate. Proud of them. For the Parks Division, we will continue to evaluate park green space with 7 consecutive years of tree plantings in the spring and the fall. And then the installation of the Weinman Pocket Park, which will be a great open green space kind of in the hub of our commercial district. Licensing inspection will continue to educate owners and contractors on property maintenance, and again, continue to assist with permitting through the completion of the new development projects and finish the projects with as little disruption as possible. Recreation will continue the repairs and the improvements to the community center with paint, water fountains, chairs, game tables, installation of storage sheds, HVAC replacement, reconstruct the basketball courts at Sutcliffe Park, continue to grow recreation programs and events for youth, teens, families, adults, and seniors, evaluate and implement fee increases for our recreational facilities since they are utilized so heavily, and then increase rentals at the Marywood Park House. Administrative services is going to focus on the safe and wellness of our staff. They're going to host clinics, trainings, online seminars in conjunctions with Divot, and really push a transition to paperless filing that is aligned with the records, the PA Municipal Records Manual, which is a huge undertaking because we have years of documents in our archive. Zoning will continue to process zoning applications and conduct zoning hearings as required. Again, they're busy, but they're doing a great job. Continue to evaluate the borough zoning ordinance to meet the current needs of the community and collaborate with the Department of Licensing and Inspections in monitoring and enforcing the zoning compliance. Community development and grants. They're going to hope to reach the goal of rehabbing 4 properties, and again, that's through the CDBG and Home program, which is geared towards low-income homes, and it's a grant program, so it's a great service that we offer the community. We're going to do another curb ramp project. We're going to close out a bunch of grants. The Sutcliffe Trail reconstruction process is going to get started. We'll accept the recycling truck through the DEP 902 grants, execute the 2023 CDBG grant that you just authorized a couple weeks ago, and that will be used to secure engineering for another curb ramp project, and then just continue organization of files and make sure we're ready to go. And then last but not least, our communications and special events. We'll be assessing all of our communication and special event operations and find areas of potential growth if applicable. We are constantly contacted for more events. We've been so successful at hosting those events and having those events that I believe that you're going to have more and more that's coming in front of you. But we're ready, and we'll be selective in terms of what fits with the feel of the community. They will improve photography and videography needs for the department, redesign the FunFest website, and again, host those special events, the community special events that really make Conshohocken the place to be. So we believe that the budget highlights and the 2024 department goals presented this evening provide justification for the operating and capital dollars we're proposing to spend in 2024. More importantly, we believe this budget encompasses all the community feedback that we've received over the course of the year. My folder for the next fiscal year begins in December of the previous year. So we are tracking requests, concerns, wish list items that come in not only from our elected officials, but more importantly from the residents and the businesses. So what happens now? We made it. What happens now? On November 15th, as I noted, your agenda will have the consideration to authorize us to advertise the budget. If so inclined to make that motion, then the budget will be posted in the lobby and on the website. The tax levy resolution will be advertised, and then it'll appear on your December 20th agenda for consideration for adoption. But before I move on to the ending, I just want to note that the budget is advertised on an annual basis prior to our elected officials considering adoption, because it's the community who approves the budget every fiscal cycle. Therefore, we really do urge you to utilize this period of time between November and December to provide any feedback or pose any questions so that we can ensure that the borough's annual budget accurately reflects the needs of our community. So, last but not least, I would just like to conclude by stating that we as administrators are honored to serve the borough of Conshohocken. Not just the elected officials, but also the residents, business owners, and community groups. It's our belief that the borough will continue to evolve forward through this proposed 2024 budget, along with collaboration from all facets of our community. We've seen it this year, we've seen it the year before. That collaboration is key to our success. The borough's budget is ultimately the vehicle which ensures that all community goals and priorities are achieved. And it really does lay the foundation which enables our team to enhance the quality of life for everyone in Conshohocken. So at this point, I will ask if there's any questions from council on the proposed budget or any information that was presented this evening.
I have one question, Steph.
Yes.
So in the goals for 2024,
Yes.
they were comprehensive and far-reaching. What we didn't see in those goals was the road programs. We saw indications of internal fixes of areas that need immediate concern. But we've got this $32 million project sitting on a shelf waiting to be identified and funded. Could you touch a little bit on where we are in that process to
Sure.
be able to move forward with our comprehensive road program?
Yes. So we had our engineering firm and our in-house staff basically do an evaluation of our roads and infrastructure. So not just what needs to be blacktopped and needs to look nice. It's the infrastructure and the integrity of the road underneath the surface.
Really?
That was done numerous years ago. This was pre-COVID. I think it was around the 2018 time period. That assessment was broken down into priority areas and also what the whole borough would cost. At that point, it was roughly $32 million. We'll call it $32 million. The world changed and cost tripled. So we haven't asked for a revision to that master plan that's shelf ready and ready to go. The need is still the same, but the price is drastically different. So we will be asking our engineer to do an upgrade of that full plan. But what has also changed, and I think this is really important to keep in mind, is that we have now built this relationship with Pico and Aqua, and Pico and Aqua are doing a tremendous amount of work. There are bills that were released through the federal government that allow for them to do infrastructure work on their aging systems as well. And every time they do work, that rips up a road. So we're not going to utilize taxpayer dollars or take on additional debt, which will tie the borough taxpayer dollars for long-term financing until we have full collaboration and we know what those two entities will be doing as well. So it's a puzzle piece at this point. We don't want to spend, we do a road program annually. The road program we did this year covered four intersections and costed roughly $800,000. It's expensive. And therefore, we're partnering with our community partners, we'll say, to make sure that we're not being redundant. If we're gonna do work to a road and they're gonna end up doing work to a road in 2 years, we're not gonna spend the money to then have to go back and refix what we already spent money to fix. So that's one item aside. What we are doing to prepare for a larger road program, besides what we are doing on an annual basis, through our liquid fuels program, which is also not taxpayer dollars, is research financing options. So what is out there? What does our borrowing cap look like? What are we able to expend without jeopardizing kind of the financial stability that we've worked so hard to build? And so roads and infrastructure, we haven't tackled the full master project because at this point it wouldn't be fiscally responsible. I can't recommend to you that you go out and borrow $32 million, which now is most likely $60 million, and spend the whole thing to get every road in the borough of Conshohocken done. What I can recommend to you is that we are assessing the problem areas, the priority areas, and we are spending money, whether it be grant dollars, liquid fuels dollars, in-house work to get that work done. So you have told us that the roads are a priority, but that priority looks a little bit different than the concept of simply paving every single road in the borough of Conshohocken. Does that answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
So Steph, we are though now, I mean, I know moving forward in 2024, the administration and the engineers will take a look and start looking at the road program again for long-term.
You have told us that the roads are a priority. So next year, in your budget, we have another $750,000 allocated specifically for your road program.
Right.
It's in there. It's in there, but it's incrementally being financed as opposed to taking on an enormous amount of debt and potentially having to redo work that you just did. So you've asked us to be strategic in our decision-making when it comes to dollars. And right now, we feel like the road programs that we are doing on an annual basis and potentially larger picture down the road, we're satisfying that request. Kind of a mandate that you've given us.
And Steph, financially, we are in a much better place now for that also.
I think, I don't know if I can find it, but let's see if I can find it quickly.
Sorry.
No, it's quite all right. No, I'm happy to. In preparing for your budget meeting in September, I always run a financial analysis to kind of see 5 years. What's that financial evaluation of where you were to where you are today? So if I go back to 2017, you've experienced roughly a $30 million increase in your cash and investment position. $30 million. That's roughly 160% growth margin over the course of 5 years. And that's with accomplishing everything that you have accomplished,
And that was our
including
goal.
the roads. The roads are being done on an annual basis. They're just not seeing all of them being done on an annual, but there's a reason for that.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay, any questions from the public that I could, hi Judy, that I could answer based off the presentation or anything else in terms of the budget? Oh, okay. Sure, no one wants to listen to me talk more?
Take a drink of water.
Okay, well, I'm just going to end it with thanking you for your time and for your consideration for the 2024 proposed budget. It really is an honor to work diligently every day to make Conshohocken the place, the premier place to live, work, play, and grow.
I like the
Okay.
new additions.
Thank you. Oh, look at it, I did it right on time, 7 o'clock.
There you go.
Do you want to
5-minute break.
5 minutes? I can.
5-minute break and we'll